Outdoors Delmarva covers everything outdoors,
including real hunting and fishing situations involving wildlife.
We do our best each and every week to keep it tasteful, but discretion is advised.
Now, enjoy the show.
This is Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
This week on the show.
If you're nervous about bees, then hold on to your seats. We're exploring a backyard hive, and as we find out, they're actually quite docile and very important to have around.
Within a month, it'll probably be up to about 60 to 65,000.
Good job today!
And a little bit of Spain comes to Delmarva with the annual Running of the Bull in Dewey Beach, Delaware. Wow! One of the wildest and most colorful beach parties of the summer.
It's still only 2 people in a bull costume, but it's got a little more intense. You can see some people get injured over here. Some injuries.
1, 2, go!
Plus, the adults step aside and let the kids have a chance to run with the famous bull as well.
Right now on Outdoors Delmarva.
Told you this year, Lemon Geese. Y'all don't listen to me.
This is Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. And now, here's Andrew Tawes.
Thanks for watching Outdoors Delmarva. I'm Andrew Tawes. We'll be checking in with my partner, Captain Willie Dykes, in a few minutes. With the longer days of summer come many opportunities to enjoy outdoor activities, but also the frustration of having to deal with some pesky insects. Well, as we find out, not all the bugs you may come across are gonna be bad bugs. With the way mosquitoes have been this year, it would make sense to don an outfit like this just to venture into the backyard. But Greg Gay and his son Nate are not worried about that. No, they've got a beehive in the backyard.
So this is just a single hive, a single colony. Basically, you know, Nate was really interested in the bees, and I knew a little bit about them. So I decided, hey, you know what? We can start a hive and just put it in the backyard.
Isn't Greg worried about being stung, especially after bringing in a whole bunch of bees to his backyard?
They tend to be pretty docile. It's not that they can't sting or won't sting, they certainly can and will. But there's certain signs that they'll give you as well when you're working the hive, so that you kind of know when to back off and change things up.
No doubt it helps to have a bee smoker, and after Greg pumps some in to help calm the honeybees down, he's ready to inspect the hive.
So there's guard bees in there that are constantly watching, and if there's anything, you know, that they need to get defensive about, they can release a scent or a pheromone that causes the rest of the bees to go on alert. And the smoke basically just kind of masks that.
Keeping the colony from getting defensive is really important, and the fact Greg is basically opening up the beehive without being stung shows just how docile these honeybees are.
So this box up here we just added, and there you can see they're drawing out some comb on this frame.
Slow and deliberate is the key.
So that's what you don't want to do.
Greg just calms them down with some sugar water and tries again.
They've drawn out a lot more there, and that's all nectar that they're storing there right now, which will eventually become honey. Most of this that you see drawn out is pretty much just since this week. And the idea there, the only reason we don't want that on there is because eventually the wax will harden a little bit, and as it hardens up, it makes it more difficult to get the frames out. Plus they'll keep building onto it. There's not much, but there's a little bit of honey in there, and you can see they're already starting to pull it out.
With this upper box of the hive only being a couple weeks old, there looks to be a lot of bees, and one would have to assume there are many more.
The initial box, when you order, what we ordered was a 3-pound package. So typically that's about 10 to 13,000 bees. When they're all in the hive at this point, there's probably about 30 to 35,000. Within a month, it'll probably be up to about 60 to 65,000.
Now Greg is getting into the lower box, and we're about to find out how the hive's population keeps increasing.
So right there, if you can see her, the one with the red dot, that's our queen. So she's over here where they're just drawing out this comb and looking for places to lay eggs. See that little thing that looks like a little miniature grain of rice? That's an egg. And there's one there, there's one there. So that's eggs that she's been laying. And then above that, you can see the little, they look like kind of a curled up worm. That's the larva. And then over here, where, there's some out of the way, where all of this is sealed up, that's capped brood.
The queen produces up to 1,500 eggs per day, setting the stage for a hive full of busy little bees.
And there's bees that are responsible for building out the comb, that are, capping the honey and capping the brood. There's bees that are carrying out the dead. There's bees that are cleaning up the cells and getting them prepared for the queen to lay. They actually have basically their own HVAC system. They'll set up bees at the entrance that fan air into the hive, and then they'll set up at all different places throughout the hive, and they'll just stand there and fan their wings and make it so that it moves the air through the hive exactly the way that it needs to get it at the exact temperature that they need.
While it's impossible to learn all there is to know about honeybees, we've certainly tried to comb the surface. One thing we do know for sure:
the reality is, crops do much, much better when there's bees around.
And while it's great to have some honey, there's no doubting the pollinating power of these amazing insects.
Get outdoors, Delmarva.
Coming up next, you don't have to travel to Spain to run with the bulls, especially since Dewey Beach is a lot closer. But first, did you know? Every bee in a hive has a job to do. A job of guard bees is to make sure all the bees entering belong to the hive. Sometimes, though, a bee from another hive gets in, but how do they do it? The answer when we come back.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru, higher standards. Sponsored by Shorts Marine.
Typically that's about 10 to 15,000.
Outdoors Delmarva will be right back.
By now there's certain